So I'm Lisa Geisbond, Executive Director of Citizens for Public Schools, and I am really excited to present our wonderful panel of speakers tonight to talk about the Thrive Act and the ballot campaign to eliminate the MCAS graduation requirement. I have been working to end the abuses and misuses of the MCAS since my 30-year-old son was in pre-K, and I had dark brown hair at the time. So I'm really excited to see some momentum for change. I read yesterday that Governor Healy said her administration is, quote, looking at the graduation requirement. And all I can say is after 20 years of evidence that this is a failed and discriminatory policy, it's about time. And I think the message to all of us is this is the perfect time to raise our voices together and let Governor Healy and the legislature know that it's time for a change. So we have three main goals for this evening. One, to inform you about the Thrive Act, the October 4th Joint Education Committee hearing, and the MCAS graduation requirement ballot initiative. We want to share why we're all so excited to support both, how important they are, and why they are complementary campaigns. We want to encourage you to participate in the October 4th Education Committee hearing and/or in collecting signatures for the ballot campaign, and explain how to participate in both campaigns and to answer any questions that you may have. So tonight you're going to hear from Ricardo Rosa, a CPS board member and MTA Director of Training and Professional Learning, who will give a quick overview of the Thrive Act and the ballot campaign and why we support both. Then Lexington parent Shelley Scruggs will talk about why she got involved in the campaign and why we need to end the MCAS graduation requirement for students like her son. Then Jennifer Rosewood, a 24-year veteran teacher currently teaching in Boston, will describe the devastating impact of the high-stakes MCAS on teaching and learning and students. And Rep. Jim Hawkins, a lead sponsor of the Thrive Act and a former teacher, will talk about the kinds of alternatives that are possible and would improve teaching and learning in Massachusetts. And Charmaine Champagne, whose name I love to say, of the MTA's Field and Organizing Division, will walk us through the signature collecting process and share helpful materials for those who want to help with the ballot campaign. And then we'll finish up by taking your questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ricardo Rosa.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and thank you, CPS, for this invitation to speak. I'm honored to be a part of this distinguished panel. Folks I've admired for a long time in CPS and on this call. So I just want to say, high stakes testing and high stakes accountability has been with us for decades, and it's definitely creating a tremendous amount of harm in the state. As you know, Massachusetts is only one of 9 states that has a standardized test linked to graduation. And we know in countless research that there's no correlation, right, between having a standardized graduation exam requirement and academic achievement, right? What the Thrive Act does is refocus us on the real purpose of education, which is learning. And so, for me, the greatest memories that I have being in the classroom for 11 years in a middle school, secondary ed, I recall doing these things called an interactive notebook, right? Where, students have multiple opportunities, right, to demonstrate their learning, right? And what they brought to those those interactive notebooks was just, breathtaking creativity, And students very often peer reviewed each other's work. A student would have the opportunity to grade themselves, and then I would grade them as the instructor. But every lesson involved sitting down with the student and looking at how they assess themselves. And then I offer my assessment. And when there's a discrepancy, we have a discussion, right? And so there was a tremendous amount of knowledge that I gained as an educator, right? In sort of witnessing the meaning-making process that students would go to, right, to solve a particular problem. So for me, no high stakes test can ever do that, right? I mean, for me, that's true learning. That's real learning. So the punitive aspects of the MCAS regime are especially detrimental. We already know this for students with individualized education plans, students learning English as a second language, students of color in groups historically marginalized. I argue though that, high stakes test, the MCAS, especially used as a graduation requirement, is harmful to all students, right? My children did well on the high stakes, on the MCAS and the high school exam, but they were all, wounded by schooling, right? They all love learning, right? They don't have a dysfunctional relationship to learning, but they had a dysfunctional relationship to school. And school was largely done to them, right? And so all of that, is to say that, schooling for them was largely about testing and test prep, right? So for many reasons, using a high stakes standardized test as a graduation requirement is a problem. I only have 3 minutes, and I think I just got to my 3-minute mark. So I'm just going to give you one reason, right? And it might be somebody on this call that actually offered this reason at one point or another. I've been in so many of these meetings. I'm not sure. Or maybe I said it, I'm not sure. But a standardized test, right, is only standardized if it's administered under standardized conditions, right? And school systems and schools are not similarly funded. They don't have the same resources. Teachers' pay vary, right? Counseling and mental health supports vary in schools. Curriculum offerings vary. Physical facilities vary. I could go on and on and on, right? For this reason alone, high stakes testing is a monstrosity, in education. And then tying it to graduation is definitely, educationally, it's immoral, right? So let me say this, the Thrive Act does a few things. It replaces the MCAS graduation requirement with one that allows students, districts to certify that they have satisfactorily completed coursework showing mastery of the skills, competencies, and knowledge required by the state standards. The Thrive Act eliminates state receiverships and reinstates democratic control. And it also establishes a commission to create a new whole child system of assessing our schools, building on important experiments in our state, such as the one that Representative Jim Hawkins knows a great deal about in Attleboro. And so these are examples that can be implemented in school systems in the coming years, right? This means that schools in districts' evaluation and accountability requirements will focus on supporting locally led school improvement plans while still aligning with federal law. It also means that the 30-year experiment with test, punish, and privatize will end, right? So real quickly, I'll go through the ballot campaign and I'll be fast. I know I'm over time, but the ballot campaign would eliminate requiring a student to pass the MCAS to receive a high school diploma. Instead, the student would be required again to complete coursework certified by the district as demonstrating mastery in math, science, technology, and English, right? And so we need to collect 75,000 certified signatures of registered voters between now and mid-November to qualify for the ballot, right? So we're asking today for everyone, if you don't have the paperwork to collect signatures, please, give us your address, give us your information. We'll make sure we'll get that to you. So Lisa just also asked me to talk about the coherence between the ballot initiative as well as the Thrive Act, the bill. So let me go real quick. The ballot question and Thrive Act work together to end the high stakes use of the MCAS, right? So we're providing ourselves with two avenues to end the graduation requirement. The question places urgency around the issue, right? If the legislature does nothing, right, the public will have an opportunity to take action directly, right? There are two things that we know through surveys and now through signature gathering. Number one, we know that eliminating the graduation requirement is very popular, right? Number two, right, the public trusts educators, and therefore they trust the ability of educators to certify students based on their meeting the state standards, right? Given that these two are very popular and that the signatures keep coming in, it may motivate legislators to take positive action on Thrive, right? Gathering signatures for the ballot question allows us to talk about all of the harmful aspects of the MCAS, including the use of the test scores for placing districts into receivership. As we promote the ballot question, right, we can also be educating the public on the Thrive Act, right, which has the graduation component and the receivership component. More importantly, it also allows the public to educate us, right, on their experiences, with state control of school systems, as well as their experience with test and punish. 3 districts are currently in state receivership, right? Those students, along with every other student in the state, are also subjected to the graduation requirement. No district has gone into receivership since 2016, right? And the state was willing to negotiate with Boston to avoid receivership there. Given that roughly 800 students every year are denied a diploma because of the MCAS, that seemed to be the area to double down on efforts to bring about change to end the harm, right? So I just want to end with this. There are no guarantees, right, in pursuing a bill and a ballot initiative, right? There are no guarantees in that. It's not a perfect strategy, right? Nothing in our political system is perfect, right? You can't guarantee, for example, that a candidate, right, will do as the candidate promised during a campaign, for example, right? We need to get away from the if-or thinking and move towards the both-and thinking, right? We must also, I think, remember that we have the agency, right, to shape the strategy. It really, all of this really comes down to organizing and how thoughtful we are in organizing. So what we can control, right, are the narratives that we shape to bring coherence to all of this, right? So I'll end there. I'm sorry for going over my time.
No need to apologize. Thank you so much, Ricardo. Your depth of knowledge cannot be contained in 3 to 5 minutes. And everything you said was so important and so well said. So I very much appreciate you as always. And now I'm going to turn things over to Shelley Scruggs, who I admire as well for actually taking the initiative to file a ballot question herself, and then learning about the ballot question that we're all working on and joining forces with us. So I love a woman who just takes the initiative and does the right thing. So thank you, Shelley.
Okay, well, first I want to thank Ricardo for that, because I could put he put a nice framework, and I can put a personal experience that speaks to everything. I live in Lexington. I have a son who is a sophomore at Minuteman Regional Vocational Technical High School, and he's always been on IEPs. He has ADHD. He's got a number of learning challenges, but he does really well in this vocational school. He's doing plumbing, and every other week is regular school and then plumbing. So every other week he's happy. But since we started in Lexington Public Schools, he was actually in preschool. I've always had the MCAS kind of hanging over our heads, and so now he's a sophomore, and this is the year, kind of do or die. So last fall, I started thinking really about this ballot question, and I started researching how to write a ballot initiative. I got in contact with the Attorney General's office, and I wrote my own. In fact, mine was the first petition, 2301. Which was it reads just like the MTA version in terms of title, to remove the MCAS requirement as for graduation, and it stipulated kind of the same thing. It'd still be used for assessment, which is important. You want to see where kids are, what their strengths are, but it could not stop any student from getting the diploma if they had sufficient grades, good attendance, sufficient class credits. Just like when we went to high school, when I graduated high school, I don't tell you when, it was a long time ago. but anyway, one thing that was different, so when I was talking to my parents, we got our 12 signatures to put it in front of the AGO and get it certified. It was like, well, this is going to take a lot of organization. I said, well, I'm going to reach out to the MTA. They're going to have. And what was amazing is that I didn't realize that the MTA, which is 2336, which is that they actually reached out to me. Noah Berger from the MTA called me, And she said, I didn't realize they just agreed to find money and organization for the signature. So the only thing and I'm just going to touch on this, the only thing that's different between what the MTA version and my version is that my version would retroactively award all students who were denied their diplomas because of the MCAS, their diplomas. Because I just think, I mean, it's just disgusting that you think, you can't have a one size fits all test. My background is, I went to Princeton. I have a PhD in electrical engineering, so I was always good at standardized tests. I was always good at school. My son is the exact opposite. He could put anything together, which I can't, but he doesn't like all that other stuff. But the point is, if you're not going to college, you're not headed, you're not headed. I'll use the coastal elite because this is the town of Harvard. Even I went to Princeton, New Jersey. But if you're not headed to college, if you want to go on vacation, you've got to have that high school diploma. I mean, if you don't pass the MCAS, they give you a certificate of attainment, which to me sounds it just sounds like a slap in the face. It's like we have in the Olympics, we have the gold, the silver, the bronze. Well, this sounds like plastic to me. And just imagine a grown person, they're wondering, they've been to school, they went to school with their friends, and all they get is a certificate of attainment. What if you go to another state and they ask, well, why did you have your diploma? I mean, the only people who should not have a diploma are people with, chronic absenteeism. But if you're there, even if you pass your classes by the skin of your teeth, you've done what you need to do, you're ready to go out, no more school, you want to go out into the working world, and you're going to learn from experience. And you cannot do that without a diploma. So I really appreciate what Ricardo said about it being punitive. It's mean-spirited, it's unnecessary, and it's enough. 20 years, it's enough. I mean, there's so many things that are wrong. I just, and I like the way he spoke about the different other things that you're talking about, different kinds of assessments and other parts of this education policy. But this ballot initiative will just take the nastiest part off. And in terms of, like I said, putting my own personal experience, I went to the MTA meeting in Framingham. The next weekend, I was in front of the Bedford Stop and Shop collecting signatures. Actually, the next weekend was when we found out that they messed up the petition. But the weekend after that, last weekend, I was at Arlington Town Day, and I standing next to the Democrats. I got 76 signatures. I'm going to be in Acton at the Oktoberfest, so come on out. And if you haven't signed, it's been good. It's a lot of people are really interested in doing it. It's so important, and I just think I'm really excited that this really is the year. I think, and I talked to Representative Sean Gabali from Arlington about this. He wasn't sure what the state was going to do. It depended on the governor, and now the governor seems to be behind it. But the point is, if the state legislators don't get their act together, we get a couple of thousand, like 10,000 more signatures, and it's on the ballot. And I'm complete confidence that people are just going to say enough. There's just, the testing is important. But why would you not let a grown person who's supposed to be moving out of their parents' house have their diploma so they can get a job? It's just such a slap in the face. And I just, I just think that enough is 20 years. 20 years is enough. Let's just stop this. So I would encourage people to do some signature gathering, even if it's just among your friends. I calculate that if 750 people across the state collected 100 signatures, and you can do that, that would be 75,000 right there. So that's my word. Just thank you for letting me join the panel.
Thank you so much, Shelley. And I love your analogy about the Olympic medals and this being plastic. So I'm going to steal that. I'm just telling you.
Okay.
And
please do.
And in all of my many years working on this issue, one benefit, it's frustrating to see things not change as quickly as we would like, but it's wonderful to meet people like you, like all the best people are involved in this struggle. So
yeah.
Thanks again. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jen Rosewood, our teacher speaker. I'm going to please spotlight.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Ricardo and Shelley. Those are really it just gives me so much hope hearing from you both, and this meeting and this movement really just gives me so much hope. I've been teaching since 1999, and I started teaching. I was really resonating with you, Ricardo, at this really exciting creative time when we were doing all kinds of interdisciplinary projects. Students were doing creative work, they were collaborating, we were doing exhibitions and performance assessments, And then MCAS came in, and I've just watched it suck so much air and oxygen and joy out of teaching and learning and children's experiences in the classroom. I now teach in Boston. I taught for a long time in Brookline, and I started off my career out in Western Mass, in Amherst. And I just have never seen anything good come out of this test. I've only seen negatives. It does not improve teaching and learning. It does not help marginalized groups of students. And it is totally inauthentic. It is a totally inauthentic task that does nothing really to prepare students for college or career. So, employers and professors say that they value creative thinking, they value problem solving, they value critical thinking. And for me as an ELA teacher, it is so pointless to have students write these standardized prompts that are just, that bear absolutely no relationship to the kind of writing that they will do in the workplace. And the argument is always made that if students do standardized writing, exactly, Lisa, the 5-paragraph essay, that is, that's really beneficial to students to help them with some kind of, command performance, especially English language learners or students on IEPs. And there's just no evidence to support that whatsoever. Students need to practice authentic tasks, writing for real audiences and for real purposes. So making arguments, writing poems, writing letters to their legislators, writing resumes, making proposals, all of these things are things that they will do in the real world. And, writing a comparison and contrast essay between two, completely bizarre pieces of expository text is, just not a task that students will be called on to do, except in the context of the MCAS. So the experience of having to administer the MCAS, I think in many sad and heartbreaking ways is like the experience that students are having to take the MCAS, because many of us are now talking openly with their students, as I have, and some of my colleagues at Boston Arts Academy and Boston Public. We're all having the experience of moral injury, what I call moral injury. And that is a term that I see people nodding came out of, the medical, the health profession of people working with veterans who have PTSD. And I'm obviously, that is not my experience, but my experience of moral injury is having to give a test that I deeply believe damages students and damages their educational outcomes. So, and the students are learning of the deeply racist and classist and anti-immigrant, anti-Semitic history of standardized testing in this country. I taught my 9th graders some of that history last year, and their sense of betrayal and moral injury is just, it's terrible. So I feel strongly that we have to make a change, in whatever form that change takes. And so I'm going to be out there getting signatures. I'm thrilled that this coalition is forming, and that that there's a ballot question. I'm so grateful to Senator Hawkins. I grew up in Seekonk, Senator Hawkins. So, my mom was born in Attleboro, and she's one of the reasons I became the teacher that I am today.
I don't want to be a senator. That's a much bigger job.
Oh, excuse me, representative. My fault. But anyway, thank you so much. And I think that the breadth of this coalition and the momentum are all fantastic signs.
Thank you so much, Jen. I so appreciate your perspective and the passion that you deliver it with. And I'm going to share out after tonight, I'm going to send follow-up information materials, links useful information to everyone, including a link to this wonderful commentary that Jen wrote that was published in the Bay State Banner. So everybody will have that to read. And thanks again. And I'm going to turn it over to Representative Jim Hawkins.
Yes, thanks. I don't think Senator Feeney would like it if he thought I just became the senator for the district. And I got to be a wise guy, Ricardo, is I'm doing exactly what I promised. That my first thing I did in that building was to file for funding for MCIA, and I'm here, and I've been doing this every year, and I'm not backing down from this. What I do think has changed, though, is this is the year when we can actually do it. Between the ballot question and the new administration, a lot of changes are all positive. This is the time we can get it. This is the time to take it seriously and go all out. I talked to Jen before. I said, well, I was going to talk about what it's like, because I'm a retired math teacher from Attleboro. I was going to talk about what it's like to be a teacher, but and she talked about ELA. So maybe I can talk a little bit in that it was, everybody in this panel, I think, has been doing this for a long time. And the people who have been doing this for a long time have known for a long time that this whole MCAS situation was nuts. I remember when we had adequately early progress and we had to have 100% good scores by 2014. Well, this is just an exercise in data. It had nothing to do with the students. And to Ricardo's point, this is punishing because the results don't come until the next year. The results just came out this week. So that's not helpful to the students that these teachers had last year. They don't still have those students. So it's of zero benefit to the student. The only thing that can happen to them is they can fail. And guess what? In their junior and senior years, they're going to be taking MCAS remedial courses instead of doing what they wanted to do there. So it is very punitive. But I'll try to do what Lisa asked me to do, which is to talk about the alternative testing. MCIA, the Massachusetts Consortium for Innovative Education Assessment, is 8 school districts, very diverse school districts. Attleboro, and I am so proud for my gateway city. Attleboro is one of those and has been since the beginning. It's Milford, Revere, Boston, Winthrop. I don't know the whole list, but it's not all the same kind of school district. But what is the same is that it's teachers' unions. This is so unusual. Teachers' unions working with administrators and school committees. And enthusiastically, if you go through, ask anybody in my school district at any level, they're so passionate about this. They're so excited about it. This is a way that we can change MCAS that make more sense. Nobody thinks that we don't need to have some sort of assessment, but it doesn't need to be that. For me, I retired in 2015, but I don't think it's changed much. It was the math portion was a 3-hour test on Monday, a 3-hour test on Tuesday, and a 2-hour test on Wednesday. Come on, you don't take a test that long to get your graduate degree, and we're doing this to 15-year-olds, really? So the product of this is a performance-based test, which is taken a lot of work and a lot of years, but it's ready to use, and it does measure. It gives a better measure of what students are doing. We know, I remember the pedagogy courses I took where they taught me that multiple choice tests are the worst measure of student achievement. And what is MCAS based on but multiple choice? We're basing a whole lot of decisions, whether students can graduate, whether school districts get taken over based on MCAS. This doesn't make sense. It's never been a good measure. So this would be a performance-based test, group work projects. It would still be an assessment, but we wouldn't be spending $30-some million to Pearson Corporation for people who sit in a cubicle, have never been in the classroom. It's designed by teachers and students, developed in the building in a real world situation to give a much more meaningful description of what the kids have learned and what the schools are doing. And this is possible. And I am so excited to have one of the results of this bad test is students don't graduate. The graduation requirement needs to be changed and school districts get taken over. Did we need to know that these are low income school districts and maybe they've got more challenging? We needed MCAS to tell us that, really. There's much more, we can do a much better job with it. And I am so excited for everybody on this panel. Everybody's working together. And what I open saying is this is the year that we can do it. So please get signatures, talk to your local reps, ask them to support it, or your local senators too, and ask them to support this. A lot of them have already co-sponsored it, but maybe not all of them. Testify at the hearing. If this isn't a good enough a good enough message that they're taking it seriously this time. Those hearings have always been in the morning when teachers and students who know this best are in the school. They're in school. They can't testify. And this has been moved is now from 2 to 8, so that teachers and students, the people who live this and live with this, will be able to testify. So everything that could be tweaked, turned to make this more acceptable, make this happen, is happening right now. So thank you. I promised Lisa that I would be just under 3 minutes, and I have a hard time doing this. And I better learn before the testimony, because they shut you off at 3 minutes there.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Hawkins, and thank you for your leadership. We've both been at this together for a long time, and I know that you have been just a consistent, passionate advocate for making this kind of change, and that you also speak as an educator, a former educator, is so important. So thank you so much. And now I'm going to turn things over to Charmaine Champagne, talk about the ballot question, more like the nuts and bolts and how-tos.
Hello, everyone. I'm Charmaine. I bet you're wondering, how can you help? So I am going to put some links in the chat. The first one is to a toolkit. Hang on, it's not. Let's just do enter. Yeah, it's not wanting to send it.
I think I have that same link. Let me try.
Okay, try putting it in, because it's not letting me put the link in the chat. But I'm going to share my screens while she does that. And don't worry, we will send these links to you. I was just trying to do it in real time. So hopefully you all can see this. The print may be a little small, but again, you'll get this link to access this document. And so basically the document is just welcoming volunteers and educators to help us collect signatures. And so we have some information to help you with the talking points for people to sign the petition. And then we have just a quick little do's and don'ts for signing the petition that I'm just going to quickly go through. So one is the first part of the petition that outlines the summary. Don't underline that or scratch it out or highlight it or anything like that. Don't drink coffee, because if coffee spills on your petition and ruins it, it has to be thrown out. Also, don't do any pin warming, or don't allow people to do pin warming on the sheets, because that'll get it thrown out. We just need their name, that someone from the town can, understand their name. So if they have a very creative handwriting, you can let them sign their John Hancock, but let them print their name on the side. And then they just put their street address on the ballot, on the petition itself. They don't need to put Somerville or any town or city with the zip code. Just put their street address. And then every sheet, and this is really important, every sheet is designated to a certain city or town. So you can't have somebody from Somerville and Cambridge signing the same sheet. So the sheet will say Cambridge at the bottom. Only Cambridge people can sign that sheet. If you meet up with someone from a different town, you have to get a new sheet. Okay? So to me, that's like the basics of it. Also included in this document are like do's and don'ts about employees that work for public entities, what you can and cannot do. And it sort of outlines just exactly what I just told you guys on this other document, so that you know how to get signatures. The other link that I want to put in is a link to a spreadsheet where you put your name and your phone number and address, and we will mail petitions to you. What's extremely important is the petition itself has to be printed back and front. It can't be off kilter. It has to be done in a way that's very authentic. It can't be on colored paper. So we want to provide petitions to you. So once I share this spreadsheet, and Lisa will share it again, if you put in your name, your phone number, and your address, your mailing address, we will ship you 10 to 20 petitions for you to help to get signatures. Now I tried to be as quickly as possible because I know we're at the end of time. If there are any questions, I also have locations of all the MTA offices across the state, so that when you're finished getting signatures on your petitions, you can turn them into the offices. This document shows you the times that the offices are open, contact information for you to be able to get in touch with people at the offices, even to the point of we have boxes outside of a building if it's closed at night that you could put those petitions in. It's best to use this system because we know that once we get them, we can count them and we can be accountable to how many you've turned in. For the most part, you'll put your name, organization, if you're with one, and how many signatures you're turning in. And then our coordinators in the MTA offices put it into an electronic system, and then it gets to those cities and towns for verification. So I'm just going to go quickly and recap. There's a do's and don'ts toolkit that you're going to be provided with a link. There's a spreadsheet for you to let us know if you want us to mail these petitions to you. We'll be glad to do that. If you prefer to see people in person, any of the offices in the MTA system statewide, you can go in and ask for petitions. We can even give you folders to help you keep them clean and coffee free. We can even give you an ink pen if you'd like one. I think we have some clipboards too that you might be able to access. They are going quick. And then once you get those signatures, turn them in back into the office, and the process will just continue to do a feedback loop. So any quick questions? All right. Cool deal. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Charmaine. Move the spotlight. Okay, so now I want to go through some more information about next week's hearing, and I'll put some links in the chat, but again, I'm also going to follow up with everyone who registered for tonight and send them in an email all of these links and all of this information, so you'll have it in your inbox tomorrow. So this is a link to sign up to attend the hearing, either in person or virtually. That's that. And so again, the hearing is Wednesday, October 4th. It starts at 2 p.m. And it'll go like into the evening, perhaps as late as 8 p.m. And as Jim mentioned, they're really trying to accommodate, schedule it so that people, especially teachers and students, parents, can come and speak. So I think that's a good thing. And they are anticipating a large turnout. So they've said right up front that they're going to limit each speaker to 2 minutes, which is not a lot of time. But
I might, if I can add to that.
Sure.
If either testify in person or online, but if you do that, you can also send in written testimony, and this doesn't go into a deep dark hole. They do really read it, and you can say as much as you need to in written testimony. So you can do, I would recommend you do both, testify and send in written.
Yeah, thank you for that point. And I just put in the chat, and I will send out a link. This is a link from the MTA to help you submit written testimony, but you can also just send it directly to the co-chairs of the Joint Education Committee. And as Jim mentioned, that there's no limit on that. You can make that as long as you wish. Now I'm sharing, I'm sharing a link to some talking points, in case you need them, that were put together by the Thrive Act Coalition and MEJA. In case you need some talking points to put in your testimony. The deadline to sign up to testify in person or virtually is the day before the hearing, so Tuesday, October 3rd. And now I'm putting a link to sign up to testify. That's that. We're going to have a virtual press conference at noon. The idea being that it's good that they scheduled the hearing so that teachers and students can attend, but that might make it more difficult to get covered in the media because of the timing. So in order to make sure that our voices and our thoughts and our people are heard, we are going to have a virtual press conference, and Shelley Scruggs will be participating in that along with other parents and students and teachers. And anyone is welcome to attend that virtual press conference at noon. And I put, I don't know if that link is working, but I'll send the link out. If anybody is available and wants to, attend the press conference, you're welcome to do so. And then if you want to really make a day of it and come a little early, we're gathering at 12:30 at the Church on the Hill, 140 Bowdoin Street, which is right across the street from the State House. And, we'll all be there. We'll have snacks and packets of information. And I don't know, are we having t-shirts? Might have t-shirts. Yeah, we're having t-shirts.
Yep.
So you're welcome to come at 12:30 to the Church on the Hill, meet up with us, and then we're all going to kind of head over together to the State House at 1:15. And again, the hearing starts at 2. And I'll put again in the chat a link to information about the ballot question. I don't know if Alan Jalen is here. Alan, who's a member of the CPS board as well, always says that it's just like being there is really important as whatever excellent points you're going to make in your testimony and your oral testimony, your written testimony, just this show of force, show of people who care, just having as many people as possible in the room just to underscore how important this issue is, how important the Thrive Act is, and how many people care and took the trouble and took the time to come and be there. That's really important. So anyone who can do that, that would be really wonderful. Yeah, so maybe if you do know now that you're able to go or to testify either in person or virtually, if you can put that in the chat, that would be that would help us sort of get a head count. And now I'm just going to open it up for questions and comments. So you can raise your hand either with the little hand icon or just your actual hand and unmute yourself. Yeah, I see Doug.
Yeah, hi. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about the ways that, some people are worried that, and you sort of introduced things this way, that the ballot question and the Thrive Act in some ways are not contradictory, but might be confusing to folks about how we're going for both. So maybe talk about ways that we can talk about it most effectively, that they are not in competition with each other, and how they support each other, especially putting, as Ricardo said earlier, the pressure on legislators to actually do something.
I think I might turn that over to Representative Hawkins as a leading sponsor of the bill, who also supports the ballot question. Do you want to take that, Jim?
I don't, I think the word was complimentary. I don't, as a filer of the bill, I don't see it as a challenge at all. I think about the worst thing that would happen is at the very least, this is going to bring a lot of attention to the cause, and it's on the graduation requirement. We still need the Thrive Act. If that would have, if we're in a 2-year cycle, so the timing is about the same on both. The hearing is now, so when this would actually come up would probably be sometime next year to vote on it, I would guess. But if we get the Thrive Act passed, then we don't need the ballot question. If the ballot question, it all works together because it's for the same thing. I don't see it as, I don't know if I'm explaining that very well. We need to go all out with all our guns loaded. We need to be doing everything we can to change this. And 2023 is the year that we can change this. We can change the craziness of MCAS. So I was psyched when, I mean, I'm the filer of the bill and I want that to pass. I got a little competitive side to me, but I'm psyched that it's all going on all at once. But we're gonna get the job done.
Can we
Yeah.
simply say, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shelley. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say that since I put in a petition just for the MCAS, just that what's nice about the ballot is just it's one simple thing. It's just it's clear, it's clean. And there are lots of other policy things and in the Thrive Act in terms of using alternative assessments and so. But I think what the ballot does is it cuts to the nastiest part of the MCAS. If you can have to spend, I love what another person was saying about you're taking 3-hour tests on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday or something. Sure, but at least you don't have to worry about that counting against you. It takes the punitive part of the MCAS. It just uses an assessment. There are more creative ways to assess. It's going to take a lot of pressure off students, off teachers, and then with that wiggle room, at least they can start thinking a little more creatively about what to do with assessment. But I think that's personally, because my son is going to graduate in 2026. I want this done now. I don't want him to spend his sophomore, junior, and senior year trying to pass a test, which I don't think it has 4 tests, which I don't think he's going to be able to do. And it's also how can you deny someone a diploma? I mean, that's the worst part. That's the end part. That's what the kids get. That's what everyone has been celebrating since the beginning of public education in America. And even if you get by the skin of your teeth, those are the happiest people, which is the funny. The C- all the way across, all the credits, you were there, and you never have to go to school again, and you're just the happiest person. And I just think that it's a clean, it's a nice clean kill. Just kill the nastiest. Just defang the MCAS and worry about all the other stuff later. So that's how I would push it. I mean, there's nuances, which is kind of overused word, and thrive, but this is just the nastiest part. Cut it out, and then we can move forward. That's what I would tell them.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go to Mike and then Sheila and then Jen. I think you wanted to say something as well.
First, thank you to everybody involved in this campaign. I've been involved in this struggle for decades, working with Lisa and some of you for decades on this, both as a parent and as a teacher in Chelsea Public School System. And it's the same struggle for the most part. We have enemies. I just want to name them. It's like the Boston Globe, I think, is the a voice of quite a bit of the business community. Not that the business community is completely united. I think that one of the things that is potentially benefits us this time is we have a new governor. Now, I want to confess that I don't have much faith in the new governor, but her position on this is much better than Governor Baker was. And my suggestions to the organizers of the campaign for the legislature the bill and for the ballot question is to focus on the governor. It's like, thank her for her mild support right now, but to find different ways, letter writing, demonstrations at the State House, asking her to come out in support of the legislation, asking her to come out in support of the ballot question. And if we don't do it, she's going to feel, and I'm sure she already is, she's going to feel pressure from the Globe and the business community.
Thank you, Mike. Yep, we've been working on this together for a long time. We got the wrinkles to prove it. Sheila?
So I just want to say I've been out there collecting signatures, and what's really nice about this very simple question is that there are it resonates with so many people. I mean, I have older people who say, I was never a good test taker, or boy, you get so stressed, you can't do well on these tests because they're so stressful. They really get it. They really understand that if you say, if they complete success, satisfactory course requirements, passing grades, they shouldn't be denied a diploma. And it really speaks to everybody. They really understand that. I noticed that someone made a chat about where there's some things that were organized. I would say that that's really hard to connect people with different things going on. Although I have a role as a Senate District Coordinator where I work in MTA and I try to get that together with folks. But I would say if you could pick 2 people to go out with or 3 people to go out with, that's all you really need. It helps support to just keeps up your momentum. But there are a lot of what I noticed, if you just do an internet search on community events that are going on, there's a whole list that's created that kind of tells you what's happening in all the towns around us, the fairs, the big things that are happening that will bring a lot of people together. And those are the kinds of things that just grab a friend and go out to some of those events, because those are a lot of traffic and you can get a lot of signatures that way. So I would recommend that approach.
Yeah, all great points, Sheila. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, I asked in the chat, Charmaine, does the MTA have like a public facing schedule of events that people might go to?
I believe we do. Let me try to find that link.
Okay.
I could also add that if you go out in front of the grocery stores like Stop and Shop or Market Basket, get a couple of friends, and you're going to meet a lot of families, people with kids, and you can get a lot of signatures there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of hours. You should always ask permission. Like I spoke with the Bedford Stop and Shop. The manager said fine. And it was funny. I asked the Trader Joe's in Acton when they don't let you do that up. But if you're in a public area and you're not blocking an entrance, and I think you're still allowed to collect signatures. But it's always good to sort of have the business's approval. It just looks, but they're usually very accommodating.
Yeah, all good tips.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jen, did you want to say something?
I was just wondering when the deadline is to submit the petitions, and Charmaine probably said that, and I just missed.
No, that's a good question.
So we have,
yeah,
we have an internal deadline of October 31st, Halloween.
Okay.
However, it's not done until like November 22nd, but all of those signatures have to be verified. So we want to make sure that we're watching these numbers. So think of October 31st as a deadline. And then we can publicize how many signatures we have, and if we need to do more, just to make sure we're covered. Because you can't take a chance that there'll be signatures that are kicked out. So we have an internal deadline of the 31st.
Okay.
But know that we will probably go into the first 2 weeks of November, but it's getting tight.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mike?
Yeah, just a quick thought. I've been involved in a number of petition campaigns. Sometimes there is part of the packet for petitioners is a legal document. Sometimes the shopping centers for some activities can boot you out, but they cannot boot you out for this one. And sometimes the police might be confused about your rights and stuff. So my recommendation to the campaign is to have a legal document for the petitioner, which the petitioner could show the business owners and the police that they have the right to be there.
Oh, that's it. I didn't know about that.
So we have something from the Secretary of State's office. See if I can find that just says where you can and cannot be.
Good.
I can get that to Lisa to get to you guys.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? It's a lot of information. And again, I'm going to send it all. It'll be in your inboxes sometime tomorrow. So you don't have to like remember everything. It's not a standardized test. Phyllis?
Yeah, I went on the Action Network to log on to attend virtually on October 4th, but it's only for in-person. Is there a link to attend virtually?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the same form.
I found out when I went through it, I signed up, but it was only for in-person.
Huh.
And I'm not going in person.
Okay.
Did you go to the MTA website?
No, I'll do that next.
All right. Well, let me double check that, because I had been under the impression that the link to the form was for both. But I'll make a note to double check that and get the right information in the follow-up.
Thank you.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I signed up. I went to the link where it said, click here, and it gave me an option of either signing up in person or virtually.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that was my experience of doing that. And that was, I think, one of the notices that either CPS sent out or MTA sent out. There was a click here. I mean, literally the word here. And I clicked on that and it gave me the option of doing it either way. So
Yep, I'll double
hopefully that'll
check
work
when
for others.
that whatever I send out is the right link. Any other questions? Not, we can wrap it up, but before we do, I would be remiss if I did not invite you all to celebrate CPS's 40th plus anniversary on Thursday, October 19th, virtual, 7 p.m. in the evening. And our special guest speaker is Congressman Jamal Bowman, who's going to talk about a piece of legislation he's filed in the U.S. Congress that's called the More Teaching, Less Testing Act. And so we'll hear from him, we'll talk with him, we'll honor the many people who have made CPS what it is today and participated in all of our great work over the years. And yeah, and I'll put the link in the chat now, and I'll also send it tomorrow. So with that, if there are no more questions, I will thank our wonderful speakers and everybody for coming, and I hope to see you all next week and at our 40th anniversary party. Thanks, everybody.
Great job, everybody.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
Lisa.
Bye.
Thank you,
Appreciate you all.
Ricardo. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone else.